Temple Grandin, through the eyes of a cow. When we were first assigned to let go of our sketchbooks, we thought we were being unique. However, this was not the case. As we looked back at our first stages of letting go, we saw a lot of similarities between them. Some people scratched or dented the cover, some added duct tape, and those of us who were really adventurous tore pieces off the cover or took the whole cover itself off. Even though we thought we were making our sketchbooks unique, we realized that we were all looking through a similar filter. It wasn't until we were told to make our sketchbooks show our personalities that we were able to look past our similar filters and make our sketchbooks ones that could represent only us. Some people, however, are born seeing the world through a different filter. These people are individuals with differing abilities than us, whose brains naturally have different neural pathways. Ever since 8th grade, I have been interacting with individuals with special abilities, whether it be through helping to teach classes, providing respite and supported community living services, or through organizations such as Best Buddies and the Spectrum Project. My involvement in and passion for such activities has led me to decide to study special education and be interested in learning about how people who are different than me learn and view the world. For this reason, I wanted to learn more about someone who saw the world differently because of a so-called disability and see how they have made a major impact on the world. Temple Grandin was born on August 29, 1947 in Boston, Massachusetts. As she grew, her parents realized that she was different than other children. She didn't learn how to talk until she was 3 years old, and she had many behavioral problems. Later, she was diagnosed with autism. Although her doctor recommended that her parents put her in an institution, they refused. Instead, they sent her to a variety of private schools in hopes that they would better be able to cater to her needs. In her TED Talk, "The World Needs All Kind of Minds," Grandin talks about how she had a lot of trouble in school, specifically during high school. She described herself as a goofball student who didn't care about studying. That was at least until she met Dr. Carlock, her science teacher. Dr. Carlock saw that she needed a different kind of approach to learning and challenged her to figure out an optical illusion room. From there, her approach to school changed drastically. She went on to receive a bachelor's degree in psychology and then a master's and doctorate degree in animal science, which she used to change the world of animal farming and meat producing. An innovator, Temple Grandin changed the way that animals were sent through the slaughterhouse as an advocate for animal welfare reform. She says, "I think we can eat meat ethically, but we've got to give the animals a good life." Previously, cattle ranchers had only looked at the final outcome of the meat production process. They were only focused on getting the cattle through the plant as quickly as possible, without thought to the animals' well-being, because to them, they were mainly a source of money and didn't think about them having things that would scare them or stress them. This is where Grandin came in. She saw that as they approached the end of their lives, the animals were scared, knowing what was coming, which decreased their quality of life, even if just for a few minutes at the end. Grandin made two main inventions, the hug machine and the curved loading chutes. The hug machine, similar to the squeeze machine that she invented in her high school years to calm herself, holds the cows tight and calms them down. The curved loading chutes prevent the cattle from seeing what's coming, as well as make them feel as if they're traveling in a circle and would end up right back where they came from, effectively calming them. Her innovations changed the meat production industry and were a huge step for animal welfare. Now, how do Grandin's inventions in the industry make her an iconoclast? The excerpt that we read for class, Iconoclast, says that iconoclasts see things differently than other people, literally. This is a perfect description for how Temple Grandin sees the world. Because of her autism, she sees the world from a different view than we do. It also says that iconoclasts are different through three overarching categories: their perception, fear response, and social intelligence. The essay also says that to see things differently than other people, the most effective solution is to bombard the brains with things it had never encountered before. Temple Grandin's brain is naturally bombarded with things different than what other people not on the autism spectrum would experience. She says that Asperger's syndrome, her form of autism, allows her to think in pictures. Grandin has no language-based thoughts, only visual associations, the same as animals. She has spent 30 years putting herself in the same perspective of the cows, giving her the unique ability to understand their lives. She has laid in muddy corrals, crawled through the metal chutes, and walked through the slaughterhouse in order to find ways to make them more humane. In his TED Talk, neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran introduced us to the idea of mirror neurons, neurons that fire when looking at someone perform a particular action, helping us adopt the other person's point of view. They help us empathize with other people. These mirror neurons help make Temple Grandin an iconoclast because they help her empathize with and understand what the cattle are going through. This is also similar to the class assignment 5 minutes in nature. To complete the task, we are supposed to spend 5 minutes observing something in the natural world. Next time in class, we talked about how, similar to Grandin, some of us felt empathy for the objects that we were observing. If it was cold, we thought about how the trees had to stay outside all winter in the cold. If it was wet, we thought about how the squirrels don't have a safe indoor spot to go to ensure they stay dry on rainy days. These empathetic feelings are due to our mirror neurons and are another connection to Temple Grandin and how she was able to utilize her feelings and turn them into actions to change the meat production industry. Through her similar perceptions of the world to the cattle, she was easily able to emotionally connect to the cows because of her mirror neurons and make the changes necessary in order to help them feel more relaxed and calm. As for fear response, Temple wasn't afraid of what others thought because she knew what was best for the cows. She also talks about how her fear is also different from that of other people. For her, fear is the landmark emotion, just as it is for cows and many other animals. Oftentimes, people with autism are very susceptible to sensory overloads and must be careful about what stimuluses are around. Because of her sensitivities to light and sound, Grandin is able to better recognize what will cause fear in the cows. She was able to notice where there were harsh lighting contrasts that would scare the cows. She was able to notice where ventilation air was blowing through vents and different cracks in the walls, where there were strange movements or reflections, as well as high-pitched or hissing noises that would send fear through the cows. From these observations, she was able to make suggestions on how to change the production plants to be better for the animals. She is able to overcome her own fear or sensitivities in order to work on the project she believes in, specifically more humane raising of cattle. Final category is social intelligence. Iconoclasts said that social intelligence comes in when the individual must sell his or her ideas to other people or have the ability to persuade the masses to his or her point of view. This is something that Grandin was very successful in. Although there was considerable backlash at the beginning of her career from cattle farmers who were simply concerned with getting meat to the stores, her ideas were later adopted by large corporations. Some of these companies include McDonald's, Wendy's, and KFC. Nowadays, chances are that if you eat meat from any fast food chain or oftentimes any other place, the animals were killed using some of Grandin's methods in attempts to make their killings as humane as possible. In her TED Talk, My 12 Pairs of Legs, Amy Mullins talks about the time that she was able to talk to children about her so-called disability and explain how her legs make her unique and extraordinary. The children saw how she can change her legs to different situations that she is in. If she wants normal walking legs, she has a pair for that. If she wants extravagant show legs, she has those too. She even has legs made specifically for running that help her perform at her very best. She said, "I went from being a woman that these kids would have been trained to see as disabled to somebody that had the potential that their bodies didn't have yet, someone that might even be super-abled." This is how people should see Temple Grandin, not as disabled because of her autism, but instead as super-abled. She is able to see the world from a completely different view than neurotypicals, and because of that has completely changed the meat-producing industry. In her TED Talk, Amy Mullins said, "It is our humanity and all the potential within it that makes us beautiful. We can all change the world. It just takes thinking outside of the box and going further than we may want to. Temple Grandin was able to do this. She saw through the eyes of the cows and took their perspectives to change the meat processing plants. She was not afraid of backlash over her new methods because she knew what must be done to improve the lives of the cattle. She was able to overcome her own sensitivities to help others. Finally, she was able to change the ways of one of the biggest industries, the fast food industry, and help them see from her point of view. For all of these reasons, Temple Grandin is an iconoclast."